do you think is one of the most important campaigns that the Mossad was part of?
So the Mossad succeeded. They built a secret farm of drones underground, and they succeeded to smuggle into Iran hundreds of drones. And second thing was they built a secret warehouse, also underground, of missiles, explosives, weapons, and they used all of this in order to neutralize the anti-Aryan defenses of Tehran. So the first night, two things had to be done. One was destroying all these bases. The second was even more dramatic. The heads of the Iranian army and the Revolutionary Guards got a special message at midnight coming straight from the Ayatollah Khamenei. Bad news coming. You must come to an extra urgent meeting in this address, in this bunker, in this military camp at 3 o'clock in the morning. All the chiefs
That's how they got him to...
All the chiefs of the army,
Right.
all of them, 19 generals were there. And at 3 o'clock in the morning,
Amazing.
they got 2 missiles from the Israeli Air Force. They got the message not from the Khamenei, they got it from us, from the
Right.
Mossad.
Oh my gosh.
All the 19 generals, the heads of the security infrastructure of Iran were gone.
Welcome to Proclaiming Justice, a podcast from PJTN that focuses the light of truth on vital issues in today's headlines that impact every American. I'm your host, Laurie Cardoza-Moore, founder and president of Proclaiming Justice to the Nations, and I'm here to educate, motivate, and activate you to action. I want to arm you with the truth and the facts you'll need to fight and preserve our constitutional republic and uphold the Judeo-Christian values our nation was founded upon. Well, Professor, thank you so much for joining us today. And it's a great honor to have you. This is a very intriguing topic to talk about. And of course, the Mossad is getting a lot of media play in the United States right now. And I wanted to just ask you if you could share a little bit about the history of the Mossad, just to put this conversation in context.
The history was very interesting because on one hand, it was a small country. Israel was 1 million inhabitants or whatever. And then something happened in Russia, in Moscow. That was the beginning. Khrushchev was then the leader of the Soviet Union, made a top secret speech in front of the hundreds of members of the party. He made a speech about the crimes of Stalin, which was something unbelievable. People there, the communists were, it was in the Kremlin in Moscow.
Right.
And when we heard about it in the West, all the secret services wanted to get hold of it. The CIA announced a price of $1 million at the time, 1956. A lot of money then. And nobody succeeded. And one day, a special emissary comes from Jerusalem to Washington, bringing the speech of Khrushchev, the original speech of Khrushchev. They had got it because of a love story between a Jewish reporter, press reporter, and the secretary of the head of the Communist Party in Poland. They had got the speech, and the Israeli got it, and suddenly the Americans said, "Hey, these guys, they know quite a lot of things, but we did not succeed to do. They succeeded." And then we had a friend in the CIA who was Jim Angleton. We called him Jim. He was one of the founders of the CIA, and he was in love with Israel. And he became a friend at the very top, top position. And he kept coming to Israel, living in the apartment of the Israeli head of the Mossad, and doing everything possible to help Israel for many years. It was Jim. We knew that Jim was a friend. And it continued for many, many long years. And then later, there was a kind of unbelievable friendship between Pompeo, who was the head of the Mossad and of the CIA and later Secretary of State, and the head of the Israeli Mossad, Yossi Cohen, they became bosom buddies, friends like can't imagine. Even in one case, we carried out an operation in Iran, and some of our agents were stuck and could not leave, and there was a danger for their lives. And Pompeo writes in his memoirs that he was on way to get a plane to fly to a meeting in Europe, and he got a phone call from Yossi Cohen. And Yossi told him, listen, Mike, I have a few guys, they have to get out. I said, don't worry, it's okay. And 24 hours later, they were out. And then Pompeo came with his wife to Israel. The head of the Israeli Mossad rented a house close to the ocean, and the four of them, he and his wife, and Yossi Cohen and his wife, spent about a week or 2 weeks together, just vacationing together. And they worked together very strongly. When America wanted to get rid of one of the worst terrorist, Qasem Soleimani, who was the head of the Al-Quds, of the Guardians of the Republic, Israel was going to do it. But at the last moment, Netanyahu changed his mind because of the pressure of the army. And Trump was very mad at him. But Cohen said to Pompeo, don't you worry. All the basic information, all the help, we shall participate. And that's the way they assassinated, the CIA assassinated Qasem Soleimani in Baghdad, outside the airport of Baghdad, with the help of the Israelis. So there were many, many joint operations between the two services, starting with this moment when this tiny country brought the Khrushchev speech, and later in quite a few operations which they did together. For instance, until today, the CIA and the Mossad are working very, very closely together against the Iranian nuclear project. And a few years ago, they succeeded, the analysts of both services, to create a new virus called the Stuxnet. And the Stuxnet was introduced into the computers of Natanz and the other bases of the nuclear project. And when they activated it, it caused tremendous damage to all these nuclear projects until, some say until today. And how do you put it in? So listen, the CIA had good relations with Holland, with the Secret Service of Holland. Holland had a kind of free will agent in Iran. It was a Dutch engineer named von Saben. And he was working once in a while for the Dutch services. And the Dutch told him, listen, you must introduce this virus into the Iranian network of computers. Right. And von Saben did it. Because he was going once in a while, the Iranians were asking if some small jobs at the computers, etc. Unfortunately, Sabin escaped from Iran after that happened. And 2 weeks later, he died in the Emirates in a very strange road accident, traffic accident. And one of the heads of the Dutch service said he paid a heavy price. Yeah. Sometimes, it's a very, very dangerous business, especially with Iran.
Right. So what do you think is one of the most important initiatives or campaigns that the Mossad was part of? Was it the most recent? Because of course, watching what was transpiring in the West, in the United States, watching what was happening and seeing the involvement of our government, what do you think was the most strategic initiative of the Mossad in all their years? Do you think it was the most recent?
I think it was there were, I would say, three important missions.
Mm-hmm.
One was the theft of the archives, the secret nuclear archives
Mm-hmm.
of Iran.
Yeah.
You know, when Iran signed this Mickey Mouse agreement with Europe and the States, you know, the Trump
Right.
canceled it.
Mm-hmm.
When they signed this agreement, the Iranians wanted to hide their nuclear archives.
Mm-hmm.
Where shall they hide it? They couldn't hide it in a university because people coming to every room and checking. They couldn't hide it in a military base because the observers of the anti-nuclear agency in Vienna were everywhere. They were checking all the military camps. So they decided to hide it in a kind of old, decrepit building somewhere in an old and not unimportant, dirty neighborhood of Tehran. They said, but nobody will look for it there. And there they took this kind of building, an old warehouse, and they put inside huge safes full with all the documents, and all the CDs of the nuclear project of Iran,
Right.
which proved what Iran was all the time. They were all the time denying that they wanted to obtain an atom bomb.
Right.
They were saying, no, it was just for civilian purposes. And then one night in January 1918, a group of Israeli agents penetrate into this building. They said that in all of Iran, this was so secret, only 5 Iranians knew where the archives were hidden. 5 Iranians
Wow.
and the Mossad.
Oh, yeah.
So the Mossad penetrated into the building. They brought with them this kind of torches, which reached 2,200 degrees centigrade. They broke into the safes. They took out of them 50,000 documents and 35,000 CDs, which they put about half a ton of documents of all the story.
Right.
The top secret documents of Iran. They put them on several trucks, which succeeded to cross the border. They say it was to Azerbaijan, and from there, flown to Israel, where the head of the Mossad showed them to the prime minister, and 2 weeks later, they flew to Washington and brought them to Trump. And Trump was the first foreigner who read the translation of these documents, and that's when he decided that America should withdraw from this agreement with Iran because the Iranians are lying about it. Mm-hmm. That was the one. The second most important happened in 2020 when there was the head of the secret nuclear project of Iran was a scientist named Dr. Fakhrizadeh. And this guy was called the king of the nuclear project of Iran. He was general in the Revolutionary Guards.
Right.
He was a close friend of Khamenei, of the head of Iran. And he had in his hands and in his brain all the secrets of the atomic project. And we have tried several times to get to him, impossible. And then that weekend, he drove with his wife to his summer home with about 3 cars of the Secret Services protecting him, 1 car in front, 2 cars behind him. Mm-hmm. And they drove on this road. The first car left the convoy because they had to check if his summer house was clean and no problem. And then, all of a sudden, bullets started hitting the dashboard.
Right.
He tried to escape, went outside. 5 bullets killed him.
Mm-hmm.
And when they came, and all the bodyguards and the Secret Service started looking for the killers, for the assassin,
Right.
for the agents, there was nobody there. How come? It turned out that Israel had organized, with the help of the Americans, an entire operation, including satellites, including cameras, including identifying cameras, and including a huge machine gun, which was imported piece by piece secretly into Iran, placed on a pickup by the road, placed on the pickup with connection to the Mossad headquarters in Tel Aviv. And in Tel Aviv, the head of the Mossad was sitting in a war room. Beside him was the best sniper of the Mossad.
Wow.
Holding a kind of a trigger. But actually the trigger activated the machine gun in Iran.
Oh my gosh.
And this was the trigger, and it pulled the trigger the moment they saw this car approaching.
Right.
And the identifying equipment exactly filmed the face of Makhrizadeh. The guy pulled the trigger, 5 bullets.
Wow.
His wife was sitting beside him, was not touched. Nothing happened there.
Oh my gosh.
Not his wife, not
That's
his...
amazing.
Nothing. That was the second operation.
Yeah.
The third one is now, with the operation, like what President Trump calls the 12-day war.
Right.
First of all, the Mossad, we must know, the Mossad says it openly. They say, we are in Tehran everywhere. They know everything that happens in Tehran. To the point that a few years ago, the Iranian government decided to create a special unit which would look and find who are the traitors in their services who are giving all the information to the Mossad. And they created the unit. And then one day, they found out that the commander of the unit, General Nassiri, and all his aides were all agents of the Mossad. They escaped to Israel, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And today we don't know where they are, in Israel or probably in America.
Right,
yeah.
right.
So that was also, the situation was that the way was like this. Israel was carrying out sometimes very daring operation inside Iran. Behind it, there were 2 services. One was the CIA, one was the British MI6. And they give the Israelis all the protection, all the help, all the services necessary, but the Israelis were on the front. And that's the way it worked. To the point that one day, the head of the CIA told the head of the Mossad, listen, there is this guy, Abdallah something, in this city in Iraq, which gives us a lot of trouble, and we want to get rid of him. Would you do that for me? So of course. And 48 hours after, this guy was the head of one of the more ferocious militias in Iraq, pro-Iranian militias. He was killed. Now the third operation is now as I said, the 12-day war, when the Mossad, first of all, gave the army and the Air Force all the information needed to the smallest detail, exactly where are not only the big centers of nuclear research, like Natanz, Isfahan, and Fordo, but also the laboratories, the labs, the warehouses, the stockpiles, everything. When the Israelis arrived in the Air Force, arrived in the skies of Iran, They knew everything where it was and how it functions and when it functions. And the Mossad did two things. First of all, they created their own secret army of local agents, because the local agents of Mossad in Iran, most of them are Turkmens, Azeris, all kind of different tribes, which listen that, you know, that Iran is about 40% of Persians,
Right.
and all the rest are the minorities. And most of these minorities hate this regime, and they are ready to work together with the Israelis against it. So a few hundreds of them were trained before, because a year ago, I'm jumping just
Right.
a year ago, Netanyahu, the prime minister, called the head of the army, the commander-in-chief of the army, the head of the Mossad, the head of the inner service, Shin Bet, the head of the intelligence bureau of the army, and told them, listen, we have 1 year left, because in a year, the Iranians will have enough fissile material to build nuclear weapons. In this year, we have to prepare and to hit them just before they start building the weapon. So in total secrecy, for a year, more than 1,000 people in Israel have been working on this project. Could you imagine? Pilots and mechanics and secret agents, secretaries, drivers, more than 1,000 people in this country, which everything is leaked.
Right.
Somebody told me once, Israel was not created, Israel was leaked. Everybody is leaking something. And this time, more than 1,000 people in total secrecy worked to prepare this project, and they carried it out a year after the meeting, because that was the moment when the Iranians obtained about 409 kilos of fissile material.
That's a miracle, if you ask me, to get all that number of people, 1,000 people together to operate and to execute the mission is amazing.
That was the patriotism. They were patriots. They knew that what they were doing something on which the existence of Israel depends. You know that there is a square in Tehran called Palestine Square. And there the Ayatollahs and the regime have built a huge chronometer which shows you the time left to Israel to exist in minutes. So people come with the children and they say, you see, that shows us how long the Israelis are still going to live. The children already learned it.
Wow.
So we knew that this was the existence of Israel, yes or no?
Yeah.
So the Mossad succeeded, first of all, to give them all this information. Second, to create this secret army of secret agents. They built a secret farm of drones underground, and they succeeded to smuggle into Iran hundreds of drones. And second thing was they built a secret, I would say, warehouse, also underground, of missiles, explosives, weapons, and they used all of this in order to neutralize the anti-aerian defenses of Tehran. Because the first night of the attack, the Israeli Air Force penetrated into Iran, but they didn't attack Tehran. So the first night, two things had to be done. One was destroying all these bases. The second was even more dramatic. The heads of the Iranian army and the Revolutionary Guards, who are the worst, got a special message at midnight saying there's very bad news coming straight from the Ayatollah Khomeini, from the head. Bad news coming. You must come to an extra urgent meeting in this address, in this bunker, in this military camp, at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
All the chiefs
That's how they got him to...
all the chiefs of the army, all
Right.
of them, 19 generals were there. And at 3 o'clock in the morning,
Amazing.
they got 2 missiles from the Israeli Air Force, which prepared everything was prepared. They got the message not from the Khamenei, they got it from us, from the
Right.
Mossad.
Oh my gosh.
All the 19 generals, the heads of the security, I would say, infrastructure of Iran were gone.
Right.
At the same moment, other planes and other drones zeroed the homes of the 11 topmost scientists, nuclear scientists, who were building the nuclear bomb, who were building our demise, actually. And they found their homes at that very moment when the generals were killed in the bunker. All the scientists were killed, some of them in their beds, at home.
Wow.
The drum penetrated through the... And so, when the war started, actually, the army of Iran was completely disorganized. They had no commanders. And the nuclear facilities, the people who were in charge, mostly in building the bomb itself,
Right.
because they had already the material, the uranium. They needed now to make it, to change it into a bomb which could be put either in the warhead of a missile or in a plane. And they were working on that. They're out. So the following operation was of course, the coordination with the United States.
Right.
Like, for instance, the attack itself. When they attacked, the only person in the States who knew that Israel is going to attack tonight was President Trump. He knew, but he did not participate. He knew. But he knew he was very excited by the operation. And the question was, would America join us? Because what we had were 3 major centers of the nuclear facilities. One was Natanz, where all the centrifuges were turning and churning the uranium. There was Isfahan, where they brought the uranium gas and transformed it again into solid.
Okay.
And the third one was Fordo, which was underground, about 250 feet underground in the mountains. And there they prepared the bombs. So we could take care by bombing, by a conventional bombing of Isfahan and Natanz. But Fordo was very complicated because there was only one nation in the world that had these special bombs which could penetrate that deep and explode inside. That was America. And the question was, would the Americans help? Now, our plans was, if the Americans don't go, we'll have a special unit of Mossad, which will disembark at Fordo, which will fly today with helicopters and planes, and they'll go inside and blow it up. That was a very risky business. And then one day, the spokeswoman of the White House, this very nice blonde girl, comes and says, President Trump still hesitates. He doesn't know if to continue negotiating with Iran or attack the Iranian bases. So it will take him, he will decide in the next 2 weeks.
Right.
In the next 2 weeks. But the moment she said that, in Missouri, at the base of the B-2
bombers,
they were already arming already the planes, preparing them for the attack. And now on the following day, 4 B-2s took the air and flew east toward Guam, toward the base in Guam.
Okay.
And I was watching, I said to my wife, they must attack us because what the hell do they have to do in Guam? There's nothing in Guam. It must be a diversion. sure enough, at the same moment, 7 other B-2s flew east,
Right.
east toward the Middle East. And the Mossad and the Air Force prepared for them a kind of aerial corridor, which was safe. They could get straight to Fordo
Right.
and to Natanz without being bothered. And that's what happened. They had 7 planes, 2 bombs in each. So 6 of them bombed Fordo, 6 of them bombed Fordo,
Right.
the 7th one, bombed Natanz, and at the same moment, 30 Tomahawk missiles from an American ship
Right.
were fired at Isfahan. So that was the joint operation with tremendous cooperation between the Mossad and the American services, because everything had to be calculated and prepared to the last moment. And what was most important, and still is the trust.
Right.
What there is between the Mossad and the CIA and the American service, CIA, DIA, etc., is a tremendous trust. And you know, I spoke to somebody who was in charge of the connections between Israel and the American services, between the Mossad and the American service. He said, you must understand, in America, there are about 6 or 7 secret services. There is CIA, there is the DIA, there are quite a lot. Now, we cannot afford to convey some information to one of them without giving it at the same time, simultaneously, to all the others. It must be, they must know, must feel that we are not playing any games. Because, you know, there's a lot of competition and conquest between the different services, you know that.
Right.
So they must know that with Israel, they're on the safe side. And I think it's until today, that proved to be found. To be excellent. There was no such case, because I don't know the secret services, when they work together, they're always also spying on each other, and they're all, in this case, we have a very, very close relationship. And it comes into this general picture of the friendship between the American people and Israel.
Right. You know, during that whole situation, we were all watching with bated breath. Is Trump going to commit to stand with Israel and have their back? They used to have T-shirts here in Israel. I don't know if they still do, where it has a fighter jet, American fighter jet, Israel, we've got your back. And then Israel has its version, America, we've got your back. So we were praying and hoping that Trump was going to come in and was going to provide the necessary resource that we had in America to enable Israel to finish its mission, which was really a mission for the whole world.
Of course.
And which, you know, this whole situation has put the Mossad back on the radar in America, and it's created, there's an intentional effort to condemn the Mossad and make the Mossad look like they're this evil group that is plotting and planning against the United States. And, you know, we've got these influencers in the United States like Tucker Carlson who are trying to falsely accuse the Mossad and say that we shouldn't be involved with them. What would you say to our audience about why this relationship, why this cooperation between America and Israel, especially our two agencies, why it's important, and how does America benefit? Because the influencers say, you know, we're giving Israel all this money, and what are we getting in return? Basically, what have you done for me lately?
Yeah,
and of course, there's a lot.
First, look, there are a few major fields in which we cooperate, because we find out that our and the American interests are exactly identical. One of them is the terrorism. America, more than anybody else in the world, understands the danger of terrorism, and especially of Islamic terrorism. Most Muslims are good people. Most Muslims are moderate good people. But there is the minorities who are crazy, who really believe, you won't believe, they believe that they have to kill all the Jews and all the Christians and all the moderate Muslims, and one day Allah will be the God and the ruler of the entire world. And they believe it. Right. And they're ready to kill and to kill and to kill just for that. You speak to the Europeans and say, yes, but no, they're nice people. And every European country has today a kind of growing percentage of Muslims. Now, most of the Muslims can be good people, but it's enough for a small group which is cohesive, which knows exactly what they want, which are ready to die. Because you see, the mentality of ISIS, of Hamas, of Hezbollah, of all these people, the mentality is to glorify death. We, the free peoples, we glorify life. We want people to live, to flourish, to prosper. They are ready to die. They believe that dying for Islam is the best thing can happen. A friend of mine was in a meeting last year in one of the cities of the West Bank. And many of the people are, all of them Palestinians. And many of them went with the band, the green band of Hamas. And one of them was a father which held his little child, little baby, a girl. And he was kissing her, hugging her and holding her. So my friend was a television reporter. He came to him and said, do you like her? I said, I love her. She's all my life. He said, what will you do if in 12, 13 years, she will tell you that she wants to become a martyr and kill people and die for Islam? I said, I shall encourage her. I shall help her. And their mothers, the Palestinians said, yes, thank God that must happen.
Oh my gosh.
So that's a different mentality. You see? And now the Americans and the Israelis are together on all the operations against terrorism because they understand the danger for Western civilization, for freedom of people. And you see what happens already in many cases.
Right. It's those Judeo-Christian values that unite us as a country.
That's the envelope. Yes. The envelope is the Judeo-Christian values, the closeness of values between the two nations, etc. But on the plan, on the project, on the basis of cooperation, why do they need them? Why do we need them? First of all, in the fight, in the war against terrorism, we are completely together. Right. And the Americans are able to rely on somebody because you need to know Arabic. Not only to learn the language at school, but to live in an Arab village, to grow up in an Arab city, to know the world around you. We know the name of every Islamic terrorist in the West Bank and in Gaza. And we know how to get to them. And that's it, very important. And you know, always when a head terrorist, a major terrorist, is killed, you find him that he's number 1 or 2 on the American wanted list.
Right.
You see, when Nasrallah, the head of Hezbollah, was killed in Lebanon, the Europeans said, he was such a scholar, such a pity. Americans said, wow, thank God for that. The world is rid of one of the worst terrorists. You see? So that's one of the fields. The second field, America has very important interests in the Middle East, in this area. And they become more and more important because all the connections with the Emirates, with Saudi Arabia, with Jordan, with Egypt, and all the problems with the enemies, which are the Hezbollah, the Iran, and all the organizations, they have to fight them. And you know, we have your army is in Qatar, is in quite a lot of places in the Middle East. But you need a base on the ground. Absolutely. You need a place and an army which will help. Because Israel today, I think we have, without boasting, I think we have the best Air Force in the world and the best Mossad, the best Secret Service. So for America, with whom we share all our secrets, it's very important to have this kind of, at the time, Lyndon Johnson had called it air carrier. Israel is our air carrier in the Middle East. Today is much more than air carrier.
Right.
Because today there is a cooperation on quite a lot of levels. That's why we carry out, maneuvers together with the American Army and American Air Force. The American Army has a lot of weapons and stocks in Israel. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of things which I'm not going to tell you.
Yes. Right. That's right. I understand. I don't want to know.
You want to know.
No, you wrote in your book, Mossad, about, in 2011, about an engine, a rocket engine that was being created that Israel took out that had the capacity to the range of 6,000 miles to hit the mainland. Yeah. Many Americans, because we've never suffered a war on our homeland.
Thank God for that.
We can't, yes, thank God. We can't imagine what, that anybody would have the capability of attacking us because we're kind of, we've got the Atlantic Ocean, Pacific Ocean, and the Gulf. And Canada, well, that's for another conversation.
Right.
But the fact that that they had the capacity to hit a major city on the U.S. mainland is frightening. But Israel came in.
That's their dream. Yeah, that was their dream, and that's something we have to fight.
Right. Right. So you've got another book coming out. I'm excited to learn about. Yeah. And this one you mentioned earlier about the Mossad women. So you're going to talk about the Mossad women. Yes. And of course, me being a woman, I'm very interested in this because I think women make great warriors.
Yes. It's very strange because at the beginning, the women were accepted in the Mossad to be secretaries and to make coffee for the boss. Of course. And the second stage was that they said we can use women as escorts, because when an Israeli agent is somewhere at an enemy country, it's much, I would say, when you see a couple in the street, they are less suspicious than a single man or two men. So they created that, and many women were just taken as escorts. And then they started to see the light, and they found out that these capacities of women, cold-blooded, intelligent, very, very creative, able to get out of it, to find immediately a solution if something goes wrong. And they started to take women for a very important jobs. And there was this woman called Shula Cohen. She was in Beirut. She became one of the closest friends of the prime minister and of the president. Her son, whom I knew very well, in Beirut, he was in Beirut. He celebrated his bar mitzvah in the home of the president of Lebanon. What more you want than that? Yes. And she would bring in material into Israel, and she knew very well, because in Israel they warned her. She was crossing the border from Lebanon to Israel very often, and bringing material, secret documents of Syria, etc. And they told her, if they catch you, it's going to be the end. He said, I don't care about it. It's not you who recruit me. I recruited the Mossad. I'm coming. And she was finally caught, tortured, beaten, etc., brought to trial, and she was sentenced to death by hanging. And she was in prison awaiting her death. Right? And when she came back to prison after her sentence, the head of the prison was waiting, the warden. And they said to her, Shula, the light has gone down for you, right? She said, you know what? In Jerusalem, when I was little, and my father was working, when he came back from work, he was saying to my mother, turn on all the lights in the house. And she would say, why? There is still light outside. So I'm telling you, there is still light. And the Six-Day War came. We exchanged her for prisoners, Lebanese prisoners. She came to Israel at the age of 50. She succeeded to smuggle into Israel all her family. children, the daughters, the sons, the husband. And she lived in Jerusalem. They gave her, she had the antique stores in the King David Hotel.
Oh.
I was coming to meet her there. Mm-hmm. She lived there in total happiness. She got all the medals, etc. The most decorated woman in Israel. And she died at the age of 100.
Wow.
Here in Israel. So
amazing.
See, that's Shula Cohen.
Wow.
And people didn't know about her.
Yeah.
And she risked her life and she did it.
What a story.
A wonderful story. Another one, an American. A girl named called Yael Epstein. Her father was a scientist.
Right.
I think they were in Princeton.
Okay.
And they were living close to Einstein. So the postman, the mailman, was bringing the letters for Einstein to the homes of the Epstein.
Oh my gosh!
That's the way they got to know Einstein. And she was a very, very naive, sweet girl who loved very much the Israel, but she hadn't been there even. And then she got married. She was a computer expert. She was married, bad marriage. She was completely devastated. She flew to Israel, and she said to people in Israel, "I want to do something for Israel. I think that I can do." And she met one of the heads of the Israeli Mossad, Mike Harari, a friend of mine. And all the others who met her said, "No, she's not good because she's too naive." And Mike said, "Why do you want to work in the Mossad?" She said, "I want in my life to do something of value. I want to help my nation, my people." And he took her, he said, she can use her naivete and her simplicity in order to succeed.
Yes.
And she did. She became a fantastic agent. She was in Beirut during very tremendous, dramatic operations. And when one of the most important operations in Beirut, which was the elimination of the heads of Black September, this terrible organization, when that was carried out, all the Israeli agents in Beirut got ordered immediately to leave because now there's going to be a kind of hunt for spies. They're in the danger. She was the only one who the head of the Mossad told her, "You stay," because her cover was perfect. I carry how you build your cover. She went to the Victoria and Albert Museum in London. Okay? She was an American girl. She goes there. And they saw her walking around in the museum day after day. So finally, one of the employees, the experts, came to her and said, "You're looking for something?" She said, "Yes, I'm a writer. I want to write a series for television about some woman who did fantastic things in 100, 200 years ago in an exotic country." Oh, they said, "Well, come, we'll check our archives." And they found one woman who was in India. No, that's not interesting. They found one woman who was in Iraq. No, Gertrude Bell. No. And they found one, Lady Esther Sanup, was the cousin of Prime Minister Pitt the Young, and she was a kind of free spirit. She had quite a few scandalous affairs in London. She was the secretary of the Prime Minister. She escaped London because her I would say prestige was quite old, quite unpleasant at the time. She sailed to Lebanon. Dressed as a man. She became an explorer or a head of group. She surrounded herself with Druze and Bedouin guards, bodyguards. She was the one who discovered Palmyra and all the riches there. She was the one who discovered the archaeological finds in Ashkelon and Ashdod in Palestine. She was a fantastic woman. And this girl, Yael, says, I do something about her. And then she gets the material. She writes the outline of a series for television. She goes to London to one of the great producers. She said, "I want to do that." and he gives her a contract. And then she flies to Beirut, as in different name, of course.
Right.
And she's going to write about this lady. And all her record is exactly this writer from America who came to London. The only thing she did not know is, she said, how can I write? I don't know to write. I've never seen the desk of a writer. So they brought her to Israel and took her to the house of one of my colleagues, a writer, to see his desk, the way the papers are.
All over the place.
So in order to reproduce it.
Wow.
And she came to Beirut and she carried out her operation. And she was wonderful. She came back finally to Israel. Golda Meir said, what? This little girl did everything? She kissed her, she hugged her.
Oh.
And I met her afterwards. And I found out that this operation in Beirut, which was also publicized later in the papers, was just the first Yael did. She spent 14 years in Arab cities and in Arab villages and in Arab military bases in the countries around us.
Right.
It succeeded to achieve fantastic success.
Amazing.
She was in Baghdad, and she was in the nuclear site that the Iraqis were building.
Right.
Yeah, she was everywhere, and you had to see her.
Wow.
A sweet woman, nice. She died last year here in Israel.
I can't wait to read the book.
It's fantastic.
Yep.
And there was another one from South Africa, and another one here, another, and they know how to hide their activity. Because one of them said to me, can you imagine, the morning I am in a European country using one of the most sophisticated instruments ever invented by the Israelis. In the afternoon, when I fly back to Israel, I burst in tears in front of the washing machine, which is broken. So that's it, this difference between the life abroad and the operation abroad and being back home.
Thank you so much for taking time to be with us today. This has been amazing. My last thing I would ask you, if you were to speak to the American public today, and you were to say something about why the relationship between America and Israel and the intelligence we share, why it's critically important, what would you say?
I would put it on two levels. First of all, the same values, the same way of looking at the world, the same way to look at bad and evil, at good and evil, and especially today, when you see that the world is going in a very bad direction. There must be two kind of I would say spotlights in the world, America and Israel. I can tell you a story for a moment. A few years ago, in an excavation in the valley of Elah, not far from Jerusalem, they found an ostrich, a small piece of clay, aged 10 to 11 years, and filled with ancient Hebrew writing. And what it said, protect the widow, protect the orphan, fight the bad resolution of the king, protect the baby, protect the foreigner, protect the pauper. And you see all the people who suffered in the ancient world, the baby, the widow, the orphan, and the 11th century before Christ, they have written this on this ostrich. And that was in 16 centimeters, 8 inches of clay. You write all the greatest, I would say, orders to what the people must do, to what is the good thing to do. And that we have together with America, because we have this kind of heritage, besides the fact that the two peoples are connected by religion. But you have something very important. You have this innocence in America. You have this openness in America. You want to do good in America. People, I spent years in America. I was a professor at Emory in Atlanta. You see people, the basic of the American mentality is how to do good. And for instance, all these organizations and groups and charity and giving back to society, all this doesn't exist in other Western countries. America is the only one. So we feel this kind of closeness. So that's, I would say, that's it. It would be the seeding of our friendship. And then when you go to interest, to the basis, why should we act together? Then you have the fights against evil, against the terrorism and terrorist organization, the fight against rogue countries like also North Korea, which also wants to build a rocket which can reach the United States. And they'll do it. They'll find a way. These are the axis of evil, as you know. So we are together in the same battle. And I see my French friends. I lived for many years in France.
Right.
French is my mother's language. I live, and they always will find an excuse for not doing the good thing and for finding a way around, like Macron. You know, every day he has a different opinion.
Yes.
That's France. We have to love France without the French people, because Paris is very beautiful.
Well, on behalf of American citizens, thank you for taking the time to meet with us, and thank you for all the work that you've done to help strengthen that bond.
Oh, yes.
It's a great honor to be able to
me
work
too, because I know what you're doing, and that's fantastic what you're doing.
Thank you.
And I can also thank you in the name of the Israelis, and hope to see you again.
Amen.
So,
yes, God willing, very soon with the next book.
With everyone. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you again for joining me on this edition of Proclaiming Justice. Please share this podcast with your family and friends. For more information about how you can get involved, please visit our website at pjtn.org. As a PJTN Watchman, you can help us keep up the fight to preserve our freedom for our children and their children for such a time as this.